Hey everyone, welcome. This is Irene, CBiz Media, Faith, Love, and Trends. This time we are talking about All's Fair, and if you guys didn't see my short review, go to my shorts page, the shorts tab, and you can see a quick review of my thoughts of this show so far. It's a new Kim Kardashian show on Hulu, and she has an all-star cast of a lot of great actresses, from Glenn Close to Kiana Taylor, Sarah Paulson from the American Horror Story franchise, Naomi Watts and Niecy Nash. They kind of round out the cast, and then they have the celebrity clients that come through. I think they had Elizabeth Berkley so far. They've had Jessica Simpson. They've had Rick Springfield be like a real jerk on the show, which we don't see him that way often for all those old heads who even know who he is. But let me read to you my brief summary of what this show is all about. In my own words, the show is it follows a group of female attorneys. It's fiction, of course. They get together in a male-dominated industry and start their own successful law firm in attempts to stick it to the man in the form of divorce law, taking the side of the women scorn and winning brutal amounts of restitution. Femininity and sisterhood are shared with the celebrities, as well as their femininity and sisterhood are celebrated with their clients and their personal friendships, as well as they work together to take down one dirty dude at a time. So that's my base summary. It's a lot of in some ways, a little vanity that we see from Kim Kardashian. We know that she has her Skims line. We know that she's had a lot of different surgeries. We know that she loves to take photos, show herself on social media. And it's kind of part of her empire. And of course, the Kardashian show with her and her sisters was such a great success. So we kind of know a little bit about her background and who she is. And I feel like that comes through in the show as well. Her name is Allura, and she seems to be in a dream marriage with a high-profile younger athlete. So we're spoiling some things, guys. For her relationship is kind of the only hope right now. We're seeing a bunch of bad relationships and divorces that these women are taking on day to day, but we see this one good marriage here. And Glenn Close also has a marriage, but her marriage is struggling. Her husband is going through an illness. But this is like the perfect looking marriage. And you always got to beware when something looks perfect like that. So we find out that her marriage is far from perfect. He is found out for cheating. She finds out with her own secretary. And upon further investigation, the ladies kind of look into him on the low. They plot to bring him down. They find that there were many other women involved, including a trans woman that he's been involved with as well. So this is kind of the focus of our chat today. We're going to focus more on some of the events from episode 3. And I love your thoughts and comments and questions, and drop your comments at any time and your thoughts at any time as well. So at the beginning of this episode, I just wanted to point out some things and just have a little girl talk. I think this show kind of facilitates the idea of, hey, let's have some girl talk. Let's talk about girl power. Let's talk about our personal lives. Let's talk about our love lives. And that's kind of the thing I like about the show. It, for a lot of the critics, is not what they expected. It's not on the most serious end. But it does have some serious issues that women do face. But it takes it in kind of in a soap opera type way. I guess a nighttime soap, you would call it. But I wondered, the conversation that the ladies had, is this something that us ladies really do? And they basically kind of talked about their self-care regimen, and beauty and age is kind of the theme of this episode. Now, they're kind of sharing their self-care regimens and their anti-aging methods. And Allura, she's done some things that seems a little painful for me, some body rejuvenations, even to her female parts. She's also tried other medical wonders when it comes to anti-aging. Basically, her character has tried it all. In contrast to some other characters, which I'll get to in a moment. And it's all, the theme is to reverse aging, to continue to stay beautiful. And it's kind of trying to fight Father Time. And to me, I wonder, is that a futile thing? Is it something to just try to, is it healthy to just try to keep your beauty at all costs outside of what God originally allowed you to do, outside of just basic regimens of exercise, eating well, trying to have a healthy, positive outlook? For me, praying, my faith, and trying to be positive. Should you go outside of that? So that's kind of a thought that came up as I was watching this segment of the show. For me, Allura has a totally opposite mindset of myself. She's just doing everything and trying everything, and she does have the money and means to do so. And all women don't have that. I do believe that some women that may say they don't really need all that, if they had the money and the means and somebody turned them on to that, they may change their mind. But some of those treatments to me sounded like torture, especially those female treatments, in the female area. The language to me is a little bit of a turn off, and some of the disses that these women do to each other, the way they diss each other so hard and trash each other verbally, to me, I feel like they could have some better lines with it. Some of it is just kind of basic and some of it is just kind of brash. I feel like they should have a little more finesse when they do that. That's like one of my biggest issues with the show. Otherwise, I think it's a decent show. If you are expecting Law and Order, you're definitely not going to get that. And I'm okay with that. Every show doesn't have to be that type of deep kind of drama for it to be watchable, for it to be likable. So then one of the other ladies, her self-care situation, she had all of her children via in vitro or something like that. She physically had all of them, but she, didn't have the partner to do that with. So she did everything herself. And that's the whole thing for her. She does her own self-care. She has these hunky guys come and give her a full body massage, and she just kind of shares each little detail of that. And then she ends up the night with her own solo mission, so to speak. She's a one-woman show. She doesn't need any additional characters. It's kind of the vibe that she gives as her character, and in this talk when they're all kind of talking about their little regimen. And do we really talk about that, ladies, with each other, those type of intimate things, especially if you're doing a so-called solo mission? Is that something that you ladies talk about? I've heard some do. I'm not one of them, and I don't know. It could be too personal. It could be something people that just don't do. A lot of times I feel like people more want to talk about you need to get a man to take care of that for you. That's what I usually hear. Like, what are your thoughts and what do you talk about with your girlfriends? And lastly, Glenn Close's stance was probably a little bit closer to what I think. She's the older, more seasoned character. She doesn't berate anybody or talk down about anybody's way of self-care, anti-aging, or their relaxation methods or their solo mission. She doesn't belittle or take anyone down for, how they feel best to care for themselves and to fight aging and to fight loneliness or whatever you're fighting. But she says, she could do a little surgery. Like, she said, it's a possibility. She doesn't belittle the idea, but she's saying that's not really her concern. She has other things that are more important for her. And then she says, I could do this body part and that body part and fix all these different things. But when will it end? And that's what I was thinking about too. It's like, I could fix this, especially if you have such a large amount of money at your fingertips. I mean, the doctors will continue to convince you and say, hey, when are you going to come in to take care of this? You need to do that. You need to do this. The doctors are making money off of this scenario, definitely. Hey, you need to check out the new latest trend, the new latest beauty treatment, the new latest augmentation. So she's like, when will it end? So I can understand where she's coming from. And that's what I think about too. I do think some women go through body dysmorphia as well. And I feel like if you're fighting aging, you're fighting the change, your natural changes of your body and in yourself, I won't put you down for that. At some point, I will see that it's a bit excessive. I don't know if I would intervene or anything like that. But I would think to myself, half of your life is being spent trying to fight time, which is inevitably going to catch up with us and we're all going to pass away. That's life. You are going to be missing frown lines. You're going to be missing the indentations in your face, the changes to your body, the natural changes that God wants us to have and experience. And as I get older, I find it to be a gift to go through these changes. In a way, it's a bit scary. In a way, it's a bit like what's happening. But this is what God wanted us to experience and wanted us to know. As we evolve, we're evolving to the next level, to the end of our lives, to something, I believe, something greater. But to me, it's like you're using a lot of energy that you could be using to enjoy your life and not to obsess over looking like America's Next Top Model, looking like the next thing that's out, the next young lady that's the it girl trying to assimilate and be like her. That to me is taking my attentions away from just enjoying my life and who I am as a woman and enjoying the aging process. Of course, you still have that wisdom, but you're still taking time away from enjoying your moment by trying to either achieve moments from the past or be someone else that you've never been. So that's my take on it. As they talk about aging and beauty and self-care, some things to me are just personal. You can keep some of these things to yourself. I don't need to know all the things that you do. But I do enjoy the idea of just having some girlfriends to just spill to and share all your thoughts with and all your feelings and all the things you do, crazy and not crazy. I would say my girls and my family will probably be the most likely who I would dish this type of information with. I don't really have any besties outside of them. Of that, I do have some friends that I think we have a good relationship. Not too many. I can't even count them on one hand. That's how many it's not. But, certain things we don't talk about, certain things that are somewhat intimate. I don't talk about that with my friends. And I guess I just don't have that tight-knit bond. I also don't have that. I guess it takes time for that to grow. But also it's just having trust issues with people and people kind of showing themselves to be somebody that you thought they weren't, and not really being the person that you thought they were. Sorry that I'm stumbling on this, but and even in romantic relationships, which just happen a lot, and even friendships, people just not being who you thought they were, and not really being as down as you thought they were. So I try to tiptoe into things, but I'm blessed to be able to have my girls, my family to talk to. But even some things is only between me and God. That's my final thought on that conversation. But do you guys have a group of girls, a group of ladies, family or not, that you feel like your confidants and you guys can talk about all of these personal things with? Let me know. Drop it in the comments. Now, let's go back to Alora's man. Like I said, he was the perfect husband, it appeared. He was also a younger man, so that also could have been a push for why she is so obsessed with trying to stay young so that he'll stay interested. But comes to find out he's been cheating on her and he's done and tried everything off to the side. He's had a lot of side chicks, so to speak, from even her own secretary, who I forgot to mention, he got her pregnant. Two, she also mentioned, she's kind of teaming up with the pregnant secretary a little. She still has hard feelings, but not hard enough to me. I really liked one scene she did in the other episode where she kind of did a lemonade scene, dressed like Beyonce, yellow bed, yellow outfit, and just tore up the girl's car. But it's a lot of times we go after the wrong person. To me, she really should have tore up his car. Anyway, she may have bought it. I don't know. She's more successful than him, even though he's a high profile athlete. Her firm is so successful that it kind of trumps, excuse the pun, it trumps whatever he has. But whatever the case, I think sometimes with the lemonade situation, we go after the wrong one. We could actually go after both. But it's too much hate, rage, and energy to put in to do something like that. So her best bet, because she has all these legal abilities and channels on her side, is to do it legally. But they're taking their time, biding their time, trying to come up with the best strategy, investigating and figuring out more of what this guy's even doing. But the secretary lets her know that, hey, he's asked me to use a strap-on. And then we find out that he's actually been with, I'll say the real thing, a trans woman. Now, for anyone that knows about transsexual life, I don't know all of the information, but from what I've seen, you can still be transitioning, so you may still have some of the original parts that God gave you and still consider yourself a full trans woman. That could be the scenario, or he could be with someone that has the complete transition. Of course, you still keep your parts. They're just changed up, inverted, etc. So to look more like a woman. So I'm assuming because he was into strap-ons that this person still has some original parts. So you don't know who you married. You don't know what their sexual tastes are. And it's to me also something that makes you think you need to really explore this with your partner, because sometimes men will have a wife and he treats his wife a certain way, but he has side people that he does all these different things with, and he has no problem with doing that. I think some of that would come out early on in the relationship, especially if you two are sexually active, especially if he is very vocal about what he wants. At some point, he's going to ask you to try some different things. And that could be a telltale sign that he may not be into what you're into, and maybe you need to let him move on. But some people are really good at hiding those type of things, and you'll never know they're living a double life. And that's kind of the scenario that's going on with Alora's husband. The ladies actually get blood tests to make sure that they are free of any STDs and whatnot, which I think was a good point to play, a good thing to put out there for women, especially if you're sexually active with someone. Anyway, but if you're sexually active with someone that's been with multiple partners, you need to keep an eye out on your sexual health. I think many people do forego those tests until they feel like there's a reason. But if you're sexually active with someone that's not your spouse, you should get regular testing. But even if they are your spouse and you're not, you feel funny about things, I would get testing as well. If they are your spouse and they cheated on you, but you took them back, I would get testing as well, because you don't ever know what's going on. And some people have ask for forgiveness, but they still may go back and forth in these different things that they do outside of the marriage. So, I mean, it's a deep topic. You could get really deep with some of these topics. Maybe they don't always take them as deeply as in real life, but these are some things that really have happened. There's stories and news stories about these things that have really happened. And I used to love to watch daytime talk shows where they had all types of stuff on there. So this really does happen. But I don't want to get any deeper into the episode. I thought it was a good episode. Her eggs come up in that because she doesn't have children. And as their enemy is a female lawyer they used to work with, she branched out and got her own firm because I believe she thought, excuse me, that they kind of left her behind and didn't bring her into the firm. So she kind of started her own firm, and she's now representing Alora's husband. And one of the things they're going to fight over is the embryonic eggs that they both made together. Because of her age, they had put some eggs aside so that she could have a child later on. Because of her age and her career and how she was trying to grow what she was doing, she didn't have that time at the moment. So her eggs are going to be a part of a battle, a legal battle. And to me, it's kind of this episode's like taking back your womanhood, taking back what's yours on some level. And, you know, everything she went through to be with this person, even though she thought everything was good, she was being played so hard on the side. And the one thing that they wanted a child together, that could never be. So in a way, she was kind of taking back what was hers and what should have been in this kind of a wasted marriage. I won't say exactly what she did, but if you saw the episode, you know what I'm talking about. All's fair. What do you guys think about this show? Thoughts, comments, and questions. Are you going to continue to watch? It is on Hulu. It is for adult audiences. If you have a certain belief system, you may feel like, hey, I shouldn't watch this, and that's your choice. I may continue to watch this myself, even though I'm a Christian. I watch all different types of programming, and some things do go to a level of like, no, I can't watch this, and I feel like I know what level that is for me. But you do what God leads you to do. Really not trying to bring God into this conversation, but it just happens sometimes because we talk faith, love, and trends on here. But what are your thoughts? This is Irene, CBiz Media. We'll talk again as we talk all these different type of topics. And this one is kind of trending right now, maybe in a good way and a bad way, this actual show. So let's talk about it. Let's see what your feedback is. And like I said, we'll talk again. This is Irene. All the best. God bless.